Bum 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 bum, and the show must go on. Actually, we have to start. The show has to start. So, hello, Cat. Yes, I know you are. You're here. You're a person. I get it. Okay, so we have a cat joining us, and it looks as though we have one person in the stream. I think my computer's lying to me, but maybe there's one person in the stream. Hello, one person, and I see a question, which is, Alex, did you happen to catch Freshwater Ichthyology's recent video on breaking down how mulm is anaerobic and not actually as useful for ecosystems as some are saying? Yeah, I didn't watch the whole video yet. I did see part of it, and then I started watching it, and then I got sidetracked. But it is something that I definitely would like to watch, and I plan on watching the rest of. But I think that, I think that there's something to be said for the fact that mulm can harbor, all sorts of little planaria and hydra and that kind of stuff. Some people don't want that in their tanks. If you have small fish, if you have shrimp that you're trying to breed, that's all bad news. If you were trying to grow very delicate or beautiful plants with intense color, a lot of them that are in the aquarium hobby are not going to also like mulm. Mulm is decaying and decomposing organics. Like, it is not a good thing until it becomes a good thing, if that makes any sense. Like, it is in the act of while it's breaking down, it's only good for like isopods, planaria, scuds, basically things that a lot of people see as pests in the hobby. Now, granted, once it breaks down, then it's a very compact nutrient layer of silt that has had a lot of the nutrients has been filtered out of it, but also a lot of the waste has too. So what I would be interested in seeing, mostly what I've seen is that it doesn't have a lot of the properties that people have claimed, like it's this magical, mystical thing. Like mulm is amazing. To me, mulm is great for starting an aquarium, I guess, but I would never suck a bunch of mulm out of one tank and transfer that to a new tank for any like reason other than needing a little bit of it in the filter media because it's a surface area that holds bacteria, if that makes sense. It also can foster really bad bacteria, and if it's thick and like layers and layers and years of it and you don't have proper microfauna and you don't do any sort of like water changes or anything like that, like it will become basically eutrophic, and it's going to have, anoxic bacteria in it that is, eventually that anoxic bacteria will be a straight source of ammonia, and you'll get sulfur and hydrogen and nitrogen, various gases coming out of it with those bases. But it becomes a locked away nutrient layer. The thing that you can't really predict sometimes, though, is like a lot of people are going to say, oh, look at this mulm, like it's so beautiful, it's so great, and it's like, no, that's still just dead leaves. Like, you don't have anything digesting it. You don't have any organic yeast or microbes or fungi, breaking it down 2 or 3 different layers and turning it into a substrate or a soil. Because mulm would basically, like, saying mulm is bad, I mean, I don't think that that's inherently wrong for certain systems. There's certain systems like a fry tank where, a lot of people, myself included, I've said, like, you want mulm enough to support the little critters in the tank that your baby fish will eat. So things like rasboras, like chili rasboras, we would have a heck of a time feeding them if it weren't for growing live paramecium. And like paramecium, one really easy way to have them is to have them in a kind of an old grungy tank. Same with a lot of the other critters that are out there that the baby fish eat. You can also grow them just off lettuce, and you can add them that way too. And that's a way, and the way that I would do that for bigger fish or fish where I don't want their ecosystem to be some pretty acidic, stagnant water. But like black water type fish, flooded forest type fish, they can withstand mulm, especially when the acidity kind of renders the bacterial load skewed a bit. All right. One sec, guys. My wife is here, so I want to say hello to her real quick. Hey, guys. And I'm saying this. Let me turn the camera. There's not two wives. There's a cat and a wife. So, how are you doing? I'm glad you're home. My cat has taken over I have a leg thing for holding my leg for physical therapy, and like a bandage thing, a wrap, a soft cast, if you will. And she has just decided that she's just gonna sit on it and like sit. Oh, there we go. And just get her hair all over that, just all over it. It's Velcro. It's okay. It'll just stay there forever. So anyways, yeah, so I want to watch, I'll definitely check out her channel. Rebecca is a smart woman, and I agree with a lot of what she says. So, my guess is that her opinion of it is maybe a little more, like not seeing the utility in it, or not seeing the pros to it, because there are ways you can get the same results of whatever it is you need out of the mulm by like buying golden pearls or buying this or that. But if you are broke and or you're interested in the true environment that fish live, there are places, there are a lot of lakes and things where you walk into them and you are like, man, this is stinky, stanky, like wood mulch and water. And like in Florida, there's definitely places where you step into them and you're like, man, I would not keep this as an aquarium in my house. Yet it's teeming with little fish. And so I think that, if you can keep an aquarium that's not stinky and quote unquote gross, then should you always do it that way? Not necessarily. Some people like biotopes. Some people want to see a, pea colored or red colored, black water colored aquarium, and have all that life and see what the fish are doing with, like, when like for me, when I know everything that goes into an aquarium, I find it fascinating. Like, why are the fish all hanging out when I haven't fed them for 2 days at the bottom next to the mulm? And then also, why is it that the catfish sometimes get sick from going in the mulm, like from burrowing in there, rather than if I had sand or something in other tanks, which they don't tend to get sick? Well, I think that it is a home for bacteria, like good or bad. I think there's just a lot of bacteria in mulm. And if you have healthy mulm that's ready to be used, it's essentially soil or silt. If you take your mulm out and it smells like moss and wood, to me, that's like excellent. It's been in there like a year and it's not like a thick layer. I used to just kind of observe it and let thick layers form and then compress down. I'm kind of getting anti that, because you just end up with snail egg casings, and you end up with like shells of snails and leftover food scraps. And I mean, honestly, planaria and things like that can live in that space. They can live in substrate anywhere, but or they can live in like plant stems and things like that too. But I just think that it's a bit, I think it's in a lake, it's diluted enough that that can become a nice substrate, and you like rise to its full potential in the ecosystem. In our aquariums, I begin to question if it does. Now, I've wanted to observe that process for years, and so I've let it happen. And I can testify that like you can let it happen and it'll be okay. Things will survive. Um, in most occasions, you know, if you are letting things like big fish die in a tank, and then like a whole plant gets dislodged, and you just leave it in there, and it fouls up the tank, like stuff like that, it's not going to recover. And we know that would crash the tank. So there's a certain point where it's like just being silly. But then there's, you know, if you're just wanting to watch it, to me, it is an interesting process. And to watch, like over time, you've seen in my tanks where you can see banding and how the little microorganisms and the bacteria and just the weight and the density of the particles and things, you can see like where the oxidation line, the rust line, all that kind of stuff are. I think that's super fascinating. But I agree that it may be less than ideally hygienic for a fish tank. If that, okay, I think I've said enough about the mulm for the moment, but I'll watch her video and see what specific, like what her specific troubles are with it. Because yeah, it'll be interesting. I shouldn't really respond without even watching it. Have I ever bred orca woodcats? I tried. I bred the Tatia. So that's Tatia mosaica, right? And those are one of my all-time favorite fish, looks wise. When I got a hold of them about 10 years ago, 9 years ago, I got them from the wet spot, and I happened to see that Aquatic Arts has orca woodcats. And here, let me pull them up just so you guys can see what I'm talking about, because they are quite the delightful. A special or something right now at Aquatic Arts. Let me pull them up, but they're really adorable. They hide a lot. That's one thing that made me bummed when I got them. I was like, oh, these guys are going to be out all the time. They're going to be lots of fun. And no, they weren't lots of fun. They were hiding until, you know, in a 20 long tank, I think I had 5 of them the first time I kept them. And I think, if I recall properly, sorry guys, I'm just looking if I can even find their posting. I think Moonlight might have some too, but the ones that Aquatic Arts had looked like full adult, really good solid color and everything. Let's see here. Why am I not seeing them? Maybe they're under like newly added or something like that. Oh yeah, here we go. I'll post this for you guys now. Okay, so they are really fun though when you feed them at night. So if you get bloodworms and you feed them at night, they are like crazy. They're like piranhas. They go wild. It's really interesting because in the day they're kind of a different fish. But here I'll share the screen. Sharing is caring. It can be fun. Oh, dang it. Are you kidding me? Hold on, guys. Sorry. I literally just clicked the X out button instead of the don't do that. Don't X out button. Oh wait, here we go. I bet they'll be under newest arrival. Yeah, duh. That's a way easier way to do it. That's an easier way to do it. Let's do it that way. Okay, sure. So, the other fish they have right now at Aquatic Arts, that's a good deal too. The Beta Maha chiensis. These are one of the 6, I don't know, maybe 7 splendid Beta splendens category fish. And these are, one, pretty chill. I've grown them with males and females all together. They will eat their babies after like a week or two, just like most bettas. So I moved the fry for that kind of early period after the fry have hatched. Unless a fish is a mouth brooder betta, I do that. But yeah, those are a fun one too. But here you go. Here are the orca woodcats. And let's see. They've got some pictures. And they're so funny looking. Oh, okay. So these ones actually have a different name than the... Wow, okay. So these are slightly different, maybe. Unless, hold on, let me find out if it just got a new name. So what I was looking for originally, we'll just go together. We'll go over to Google together. And we all Googled together. Tatia mosaica. I think I'm spelling that wrong, but Tatia mosaica. The ninja woodcat. Okay, I don't know if this is a different fish or not, though. Let me look back at the other picture and try to... Yeah. Oh, wait, here we go. So, okay, it just has a new name, it looks like. Aquarium Glauser has Centro Mochilus, Center Mochilus, Centro Mochilus. Interesting. Anyways, yes, okay, well, that makes me feel better. The Tatia name, that's just because they were in there. But let's see here. So, however, confirmed, Tatia mosaica is a valid species from the Rio Orinoco. The real Tatia mosaica differs in color from the sea orca by higher proportion of black in coloration. It was astonishing to see these two species so similar to each other, yet placed in completely different genres. Wait, so now I'm really confused. Okay, let's they were a sensation, blah blah blah. And scientists published us. Okay, species known as Tatia. Okay, we know that. And these are from the Rio Namunda drainage. And they said they were a new species. They confirmed Tatia as a valid species from the Rio Orinoco. Well, I don't know what any of this means. Hold on. Unfortunately, the scientists overlooked the 2015 paper about so we're talking about the Orinoco versus the Amazon. So like maybe 1,000 miles apart or something, and they look super similar. Which one is this saying it is, though? I wonder, because clearly they have the one with more white, which is the one that I had for sure too. Aquatic Arts does. So I think we're looking at here, this must be the ninja one. This must be the one that goes as ninja. But I'm trying to find the other Latin name here. This is odd. So now there was already 3 names for black and white Tatias, which are the woodcat group. Drift woodcat fish. Both species, the orca and mosaica, were reassigned to Tatia. And Saron Glanus. That is an interesting name. I want to know where that name came from. Saron Glanus. I mean, I think I know what that means in Latin, and that would be this Sauron. They've literally said like Sauron was for Eye of Sauron in Lord of the Rings when they named a silver dollar that with the Eye of Sauron on the side. But here we've got Saron Glanus, and Glanus or Glans or Glans with the D a lot of times refers to reproductive. So I don't know what this, I'm curious what this name is about anyways, but it was declared a synonym. This did not go unchallenged until 2020. Both species were regrouped at this time, placed in Centro Moculus, or yeah, I don't know. I might be butchering all these guys. So they should now be called Centro Moculus orca and Centromoculus mosaica. And Grant is not yet convinced that the genus Sauroglanus is a synonym. It may be a separate species still, a banjo woodcat catfish. Okay, this is super confusing. So they don't tell you. Okay, well, let's just go with the fact that, what are they calling it here? So they're calling this Tatia mosaica here. Which also had the name of the Centro, what was it, Mocanus or whatever. Basically, they gave it the same species name. They just changed the genus name here. And I could see where you might call something like these ones here that don't have any white dots up higher. Like if there's no white dots up higher or on the fin, that's probably, I could see where that might be a different, species. So then we go back to aquatic arts. Let's take a look at their, let's take a look at, or I think we can probably just go back here. Hold on. I think, and that doesn't help the issue because actually, by looking at it, we can. So this would be what Aquarium Glauser is calling Mosaicus, which is the one that's more like the orca, whereas the ninja woodcat only had those white stripes, little jets of white, whereas these are rounded white spots. Actually, that's a pretty big difference if you're a nerd and into catfish. To me, that's not like some just subtle difference. Like these are really pretty. Whereas I don't find those ones with the jutting out like sharp bits of color. I don't think those are nearly as pretty. I'm curious here if they've got more under their catfish. Let's see here. Do they have more? Yeah, they do have more Synodontis. Never mind, not woodcats. But they do have the pink Synodontis, which is cool. They have a bunch of Synodontis right now. Wow, and they're a really good price. Only $12.99 for the cuckoo catfish. These guys, they kick out other fish in Lake Tanganyika, and they lay their eggs in their nest, and then their babies get raised as their own. Same here. We got a cuckoo catfish, and what I think is cool is that you can pick here. So you can go with different kinds of fish, and this is like the leopard cuckoo catfish, but I can't tell the difference here on the dwarf. It's a dwarf, where this is the full size one. Okay, got it now. Now I'm getting it. Sorry guys, a little slow today. Valentine zebra catfish. These are just a hybrid that has a certain color, but again, they've got that nice kind of pink hue to them on them, which looks kind of cute in some tanks. It doesn't look super natural in my opinion, but and then they got the Burmese marble catfish, which these are cool. Sometimes these get called like bumblebee marble cats or something like that. But they're all like $9.99 or so, which is great because they're not super hard to breed, any of those, which I think is great that they kind of keep it a buck on that one. Then they've got a lot of tank bred stuff in their lineup right now, which is another thing I really like. So here, I bet this is for 3, right? Yeah. So like I love pygmy cories. I think these are one of my favorite cories of all time. Oh wait, I'm so sorry guys. I'm not even showing you anything. Gosh, let me so sorry. let me take you on a journey so you can see where I've been, not just hallucinating, staring at the same picture, and you're like, Alex, what are you talking about? So what I was talking about was these little, do you get 3 for this or just 1? Okay, you get 1 fish. On these guys, the full-size ones, $19.99. Then these are $9.99. Fun. So these were the ones that I was just, oh wait, you're not seeing them either, are you? Why did that not work? Okay, guys, I might lose my mind. Hold on. Why isn't this working? All right, I'm skipping everything that's gone on in the chat, and I'm running down all the way to here. Sorry, guys. And also, welcome everybody who just came. You know what? Let's just put aside the video or the the Woodcats for a second. I want to say hi, since we have like basically a new crowd from the like 4 people that were in here at first. But hello, how are we doing, guys? Yeah, and I probably yeah, I probably made everybody go crazy on the like, what is he talking about? Like, I don't see any Synodontists anywhere. Those are Woodcats. But basically, I have a screen, and when I go into StreamYard, it doesn't let me see what I see on my computer. It doesn't let me see that. It doesn't let me see what's going on in StreamYard. So I'm on the website, having no idea what's going on StreamYard, thinking that, oh, it came along for the journey with us. And no, it didn't. So I apologize for that random task and random circle. And the rest of my tanks will oh, Stephen P, what's going on? Oh, I see what you're doing. I see what's going on. I'd like to par down or pare down. I guess you would say pare, probably that, to just one stem heavy high tech tank, more manageable. I feel you, man. It's gonna be insane. We can go, you know what, let's go on a field trip. Let's go look at the other tank real quick. Let me fire up this portable camera. Ooh, it doesn't have much battery. My phone is pretty much dead. But we'll see what we can do. Let's see. Fire it up. Turn it up. Okay, I'm entering. Wait. I'm entering the studio. Let's see if it shows up as this. We don't want it to give us feedback, so we'll mute. Enter studio. All right. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right, we're moving. Things are happening. Just dropped my headphones. Dang it. Okay, guys. So here is the new tank at the moment. So I need to do a massive water change, and that's basically the next big thing that needs to happen. Hi, honey. Are you guys seeing this? I can't even tell what's going on in chat, like on the mobile. Are you guys hearing echoes and things? Or are you seeing it? So right now it's not at its reddest. And we've also got the first appearance, now that we're about 3 weeks in, honestly. 2.5 weeks maybe. We got algae also growing on the glass, if you can see, just starting. And you can see it starting up here. Actually, it's grown quite a bit. In 2 days, it's grown from nothing to this. And so it's grown from nothing to that much algae. Cat, what are you chasing? Oh, you're chasing the bearing for the light. All right. So right here, you can also see the melt going on the crypts. So in the picture that I posted earlier, you probably saw a whole lot of cryptocrine pink panther, and yeah, that's melting really bad. And part of that is going to be the pH. Right now, the pH is higher than those plants were used to, and so it's a little harder, the water and everything, which is kind of funny because usually these tanks are pretty soft. It's just my other tanks are really soft. And basically, what we need to do is a big water change, like a 50%. And with these kind of tanks, you want to do water changes a lot. Like, I should be doing one every few days of 30%, if not every day, if I really want to get the debris down. So in a tank like this, you would not want mulm whatsoever. So honestly, what I should do is get scissors and be trimming all these little dead clear leaves that you can see. Also, you can see this white growth. So there's some really healthy, dang cat, really? No, I don't want you on top of the aquarium, cat. Get down. But yeah, there's some really healthy growth. Like some of the plants absolutely love the high nitrates and the hardness being a little harder than it had been. Come on, cat, get down. Like right here, you can see the Ludwigia labulosa. It is absolutely growing at a crazy clip. That little green plant there, it's growing like wild. Also, the Hygrophila triflora, growing like wild. The red and the pink variegation is going to come in really bright. The Ludwigia growing like crazy. The Rotala, super red, growing like crazy. Actually, it's Rotala. What is it? Cat? It's Rotala super red something like blood red. That's what it's called. And over here, you can see that the mermaid weed, the Persicaria, growing like crazy. The Mayaca that has red or orange stem, it's growing like crazy. Cat, she's just running around causing all sorts of trouble.
Alex, can we use the computer?
Hold on one sec. I will come change it in a sec, wife. So then we just got the CO2 running, and then I just wanted to show you guys the rest of this real quick. All the hair grass also doing well. But again, this stuff, it's called Ludwigia sphaera. Oh man, I always forget the name. Sphaera something. Sphaera carpa. And it's growing like crazy. I didn't think it was going to even survive because it was only like a little cluster of leaves for a long time. But it's doing really well. That stuff's doing well. Let me show you guys over here where I rated the other tank. You can actually see the color of how pink or non-pink plants were getting on their own in this tank with low CO2 in their old habitat. So the red's actually better over here. I really shocked those plants moving them. Same with like the Samolus parviflora. And if you asked about those shrimp, well, there's those shrimp right there. They're not babalti, they are Malawa is what their name is, but they're from Silawesi. Sorry, guys. And in there, oh, we got the rosy loaches all colored up for spawning too. Look at that color. Beautiful. Beautiful. Anyway, so we're hearing all this reverb from me talking. And look at, here's the purple aflame Echinodorus. Stephen P knows about this plant because I was supposed to make a video with him and he sent me everything I asked him for. And then I was lazy and never got to it when I was sick. And it still should happen. So anyways, there's that pretty plant that I said he couldn't do because I wanted to do it. And there's the Ludwigia, and then the Rotala super red. It is very, or blood red, sorry, not super red. It is very, very blood red. You can see it over here. The plants that came out of this tank, the Kabamba, nothing as bright as what we're seeing in the other room. So the Kabamba definitely is going to get a major boost in the CO2, but other things don't like nitrate, nitrites, ammonia. Some plants love that high level. So over here you can see like this is almost no nitrites, nitrates. And these plants are very yellow and green down, but you could get them to be red all the way up if you give them a little more oomph, a little more light too. But even the Persicaria, I thought we had some in here. And this Ludwigia super red, and then the Rotala. This is no CO2 though on this tank. And this is the Rotala Vietnam purple, which is what the entire back area is going to be. Got any ammonia? It hates water column nitrates. Yeah, there. Oh, ammonia, gracilis. I see what you're saying, Steven. No, I don't. But I just want to show you guys this one more time, and then I'm going to hop back on the computer. So you can see where I gathered the plants from. These are both zero nitrate environments. Like they run at a deficit. And you can see the reds are super red on certain things. The boost is really dense and tight. This is a little leafy. And the crypts are all really, really happy because they feed from the roots anyways, so they don't really care. But if we go back over here, we've got it going at 2 bubbles a second for CO2. And you can see that the Kabamba is actually dying at the center because I've got 4 parts per million ammonia. And that's burning the plant, literally. The new growth is dying. And it's a very touchy plant. But as I said, some plants absolutely love it. Like the mayaca that comes from Mexican limestone caves is like bushier, taller. It's growing like an inch a day. And the Rotala, when it gets better access to light, now that it's kind of grown out and about like a flame, it will get a dark, dark, deep red. Whereas the Paraflora is turning back to a greenish color. Cat. I'm sorry, you guys. I've got the cat trying to get on top of the aquarium here. No. All right, we're going back to the aquarium, or the computer, because this is feedback's driving my wife crazy anyways. And no. Hello? 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 Can you guys hear me? Am I back? Hopefully that reverb never started too bad. Sorry about that little expedition. Okay, are we back? I'm gonna wait till I hear you lovely people saying, we're back. Oh, cool. Somebody emailed me some pictures of some dojo loaches. Nice. I love it how they cuddle. They're pretty cute. Chance, what's up? Farm water. Yeah, that water is basically, I haven't put liquid ferts in because right now I did every additive. My hat feels ridiculous. I did every additive that ADA and AFA, so ADA, I did every additive that they said to. So I did the power sand and the all this Factor 100. There was another one too that they recommended. What was it? There's Factor 100. There was the power sand, and then there was tourmaline, and then there was also like a charcoal that you put in. And I made a whole video on it, so I'll go over it. And it's all backed by science and everything, but it's kind of interesting because it's very similar to my spaghetti layered system that I like. I'm not saying like my system. I'm just saying I like that system where you layer things and you add lava rock. And they were even saying like, oh, you could use pumice or you could use, charcoal or anything to spill or to fill the space rather, to make hills and things. You could use, wood or rocks as well. And yeah, no need of liquid ferts for a while when you start up these tanks. As long as you got CO2 and decent light, that the substrate should really help. Now, I didn't put in the root tabs either. So these roots are not getting their like extra oomph. They're just getting the plain old aqua soil ADA version 2. And I want to see with the additives, with the bacteria added, with the tourmaline for conductivity and for trace minerals, I want to see like what the ADA system does. And so we'll be Alex, please track how you keep up with new tank algae if you wouldn't mind. Make a video on it. Yeah, so I've been documenting all this on my phone. So hopefully it'll all get edited. Hopefully it'll all get edited into its constituent parts and videos. Like these are videos all waiting to go. These are not single clips, or I mean, these are not they're not still fake pictures. These are all videos that are all like 30 seconds to several minutes long. All of these are setting up the tank from here all the way to the top. So I have 50 some videos to stitch together for showing you guys how the CO2 works, showing you guys how. So I've been doing that since January actually. So I just haven't decided when I'm doing it, when I'm in the moment and I'm making an aquascape. I've been feeling like, oh, I need to show them how I do this, and I need to show this process, and I'm going to take my buddy's phone and I'm going to do a time lapse of me working, and then we can talk over that, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do that and the other, and then it comes down to time to make the video, and I'm like watching it, and I'm like, you know what? There's a few people who would like that pace, but most people are not going to sit and watch through, even if I'm narrating what I'm doing, 5 minutes of me putting that tank together, one plant at a time in high speed. Now I could do a clip for 15 or 20 seconds of that, but I'm trying to decide, how much of that. And maybe what I'll do is I'll make, for those of y'all who do seem interested in that stuff, maybe I'll do like a members only like upload of just some of the raw like time lapse if you want to watch it and like put on your favorite music or whatever. Like if there's an interest in that, just let me know, because like I have no problem sharing it with you guys. I just don't want to edit and spend hours for every minute of final edited video. You have to figure I spent at least 2 to 5 minutes filming it, planning it, thinking about it, and then another, for every minute, somewhere between 2 to 10 minutes with editing. So it ends up becoming that for like a 15-minute video, that's 15 minutes times 15 is how much it's going to take me to edit and all that. I look poor. Well, I thank you. I don't know if that's like you don't look good or you look poor. Like I look financially poor, but I don't really care either way. Hello though. You look like you don't have a screen name that's identifiable. So anonymous. You look very anonymous. Let's see here. Please back up those videos. Oh yeah, Cave of Wonders. No worry. They are. I think they're backed up in the. They should be backed up in the cloud if all is well. Oh, there's definitely, okay, Bambi says there's definitely an interest. Oh, well, thanks. Okay, well, I'll make sure to save that, and we'll definitely, I'll put it up somewhere. We'll get that up. And, I was also debating, like, do I want to edit a, like, 30-minute version of me doing the substrate, and that shows things like the process of me washing the substrate and then being like, oh crap, I didn't talk to anybody at ADA, and now you aren't supposed to wash the substrate because it's already been rinsed. And even though it's silty, it's not like it used to be. It's not like a complete and utter mess that's going to ruin all your filter when you run it. Now you are supposed to just let it be messy, especially with like the power sand and stuff like that. You aren't supposed to pre-rinse that or shuffle it or anything. And so there were things I did that I messed up, and I even mentioned like, oh yeah, you're going to want to rinse this just like rice. And I filmed the whole thing doing it the wrong way. If I remember, I told y'all what had taken so long to be truthful was that I assumed what I shouldn't have assumed. And so I had to go back again and rewatch every ADA product's video and description from whatever was within the last 5 years, like whatever the most recent thing was. And also I wrote the ADA company, and I talked to their sales reps on Google, and also to George Lowe, who's the AFA guy who set me up with all of this. And he was basically, telling me what's changed. And there's a lot that has changed. So I'm really like grateful I did this, because also that aquascape, sure, it's supposed to look like a flame and like a fire, or red and orange and bright colors and stem plants in the center. And then against the back wall, we'll see if it stays. But my idea was to just make a wall of green and or slightly purple colored plants. And then some sort of carpet or low layered space down below, and then rocks like it's a fireplace and sticks like it's a fireplace. That was the whole idea. Obviously pretty simple, but then to try to execute that without it feeling like a complete diorama, that is another like decision that I had to make. Like, where do you lose the appearance of it is I want it to be a recognizable item or scene. I want it to be a campfire. And then it's like, well, what does a campfire have to do with fish? And then there's a whole other story about that, about how archaeology and how our history of being human ties directly back to the campfire, to freshwater fish, to freshwater ichthyology, to horticulture and aquaculture. Basically, our ability to settle down in one place, comes with grains being domesticated, of course. But long before that, the first places where we find like dozens of human bodies together, like during, a blizzard or something, or like some bad thing must have hurt them all. We don't see these assemblages of bodies. We don't see these big social groups until around 900,000 years ago, almost a million years ago. But that may seem like a trivial thing to a lot of people. but it's not. It means that by that point we were living in social groups. We were, you know, if one goes down, we may all go down. And we started changing our brains around 2 million years ago till that point, right around 900 or 800,000 years ago. How did our brains go from 500 cubic centimeters all the way to 1750 cubic centimeters? And Neanderthals went all the way up to like almost 1900 in some cases. They had even bigger brains than us. But how did that shift occur? And the answer is they say it's fire and also eating what other carnivores and apex predators had killed. Well, if you look at it, the other theory, and my personal theory, is it's probably a combination, but also we move into the Rift Lakes during that time period. Our species does. We move south in through the Rift Lakes, and then we move up to the Levant, Israel and Palestine, and the, you know, the Arab area and Lake Chad in northern Africa, which all used to be much more wet and tropical, and basically a mix between savanna and tropical. And that area was absolutely full of artifacts of human bones in cave shelters and things. Homo erectus, Neanderthal, sometimes both species together. And then also we would find things like 6,000 continuous years of fish pharyngeal teeth. And those are the teeth in the throat of the fish. And I know I've talked about this before, but I want to say it one more time when I'm discussing the aquascape in the other room, the fire. And the whole reason we know that those humans did that, and it wasn't a crocodile sitting on the bank for 5,000 years that threw his fish over his shoulder every day after he took one bite out of its belly or something weird, or wasn't a group of birds that would pick the fish apart at the top of the rock shelter. Well, we know, one, because the fish skulls and things, they're the few that are left, fish bones don't last very well, cartilage and stuff. But the impressions and the castings and things we found, we can see that there's chop marks on things. So things were cut up by humans very intentionally in many cases, and that helps us know. But also there's things like arrowheads and spear points, like literally the tip broken off in what must have been the position of the fish. Like you dig up the dirt, halfway through the dirt where there would have been a fish body, there's a spear point, tip that would have been buried in the fish back when it got discarded as like, we don't want to eat that fish head, we'll eat the good meat. But long story short, we got a lot of proteins from mussels, oysters, clams, all sorts of those fresh water bivalves, freshwater invertebrates, things like crayfish and freshwater various lobster type creatures, and then of course fish. And that allowed us to stay year round for the first time somewhere, because you can't rely year round, other than maybe a few water holes and things like that, on animals elsewhere. Especially when humans are around, the animals will learn, like, we're getting picked off every day, we gotta switch it up, we're gonna walk farther. And those assemblages of fish teeth, that's the hardest part of the fish that lasts the longest. There's a little bone in a fish's ear called an otolith, where the fish stone, they call it sometimes, or an ear stone, sometimes they'll call it. But that is a record. It deposits calcium and a number of other minerals and elements. It deposits them in layers, like a pearl kind of, or like a never-ending gobstopper or jawbreaker. It has these layers, and you can look at it, cut it in half, and read it like tree rings, and know how old the fish was, how many years the fish lived, how many seasons, because it deposits things differently in different seasons, right? And so that, along with the teeth from the throat of the fish and all of the tools and all the waste objects and things like charcoal alongside them, all these things show us that yes, it was like some sort of human or Neanderthal, some sort of early hominid. And by 910,000 years ago, that's now how early we've gotten this. Before, it used to be 790,000 years ago. We now can show that those teeth of the fish, of freshwater carp, so a fish kind of like a big old carp or koi, like a big old whiskery mouth koi or carp, these ones used to grow to 5 feet, and they're extinct now, but they would be known as the Lake Chad carp or something along those lines. They have a Latin name, but I forget what it is at the moment. But they lived all throughout the Middle East as well, in these desert oases and lakes, which at some point were probably connected by rivers and when it was a wetter climate. But at this point in time, they were in these kind of split up lakes into different subspecies, and humans almost universally made them go extinct in all these lakes. Now, there's some things left, like also there were some really similar fish to tilapia that humans made go extinct, and we're talking like 300,000 years ago they stopped being found in the fossil record. They're around for eons until then, and then all of a sudden they just disappear. Kind of fishy that wouldn't just be humans fishing a lake, or at least understanding, oh, they spawn in the shallow part of the lake, let's build nets and block them off, or let's spear them there. So when they look at the teeth of those fish, they're able to see not just the rings of their life, but they can also see how hot they were cooked. And they can see if they were cooked to 100 Fahrenheit, 200 Fahrenheit, 300 Fahrenheit, 400 Fahrenheit. They can tell almost incrementally all the way up to 1,000 degrees, or basically when they incinerate the bone or the enamel, they can see that they got it warmer with indirect heat, because the enamel reconfigures the energy of the fire that the humans were burning. And they had, say, a fish on a stick. When they have a fish on a stick and they let it just burn like a hot dog in a campfire, that carbonizes, that becomes like charcoalized basically, and a layer of smoke is deposited on it, which leaves carbon. Well, that will then be in the trash that the humans left at the site, or rather thousands of years of fish dinner that is thrown off to the side. And so really, really interesting is that we wouldn't know when humans mastered fire if it weren't for a lot of the fishing sites and fishing spots where they camped. If not all year, at least they would also camp there year after year. And we don't see that other than a few known, like, predictable watering holes and aquifer type areas. We don't really see that. And so with my archaeologist and cultural anthropologist hat on, or historian hat on, I really think that fire is something that unites us with fish in a weird way, in that it is a kind of a tool that allowed us to unlock also more possibilities of eating things like shellfish and not getting sick as often, like eating fish and not getting the tapeworms and the other things as issues as much. But also, being in one place and having that campfire together, sitting by the shore of the water. And undoubtedly, water and fire are both very destructive and can unleash things, and they can also cause major problems, a flood. But it's also very likely that those calories are what we journeyed out for the first time. So humans have this curiosity of like what's over the next hill and things like that, and it's very understandable that maybe it was following a river, or following lakes and rivers and streams, or wondering, is there another lake over there? And that the answer of yes, there is another lake over there gives them enough confidence to say, okay, well, there's probably fish in that lake then, so we can set up, and we'll get there, we'll set up, we'll drink the water. Obviously we need water too. So then there's that history, right? Well, then there's us changing fish and us changing plants and us building everything from rice terraces and aquaculture, floating gardens in Mesopotamia and in Central and Southern America. I mean, all of modern day Mexico City was floating gardens taking over the lake. And later on, we see this in Myanmar. We see this in Lake Inle. We see this in Lake Titicaca up in the high Andean mountains. And they're utilizing fish and actually not necessarily intentionally, but by selecting for fish that do certain things. So if they saw a fish that would eat all the bugs that eat the roots of a certain tuber that they like to eat, like that's like a cattail or something, they would say, don't kill those fish. Let them stay in the lake. Let them eat the whatever beetle or something larva ruins the crop they're growing. And so things like this over like literally 1,000 years in places like Angkor Wat, where they built a temple city, around water, we get these connections and these relationships to fish. And over time, not only fish are nourishment and sustenance and like, oh, cool, we were all eating and able to stay here because of the fish, right? And, they're hunting other things too, but fish are the baseline along with gathering, right? Gathering is always the spot that doesn't get glamour, but if you want to know the truth about early humans, hominids, is that probably children and elderly and, somewhat women, probably gathering saved everybody's butt all the time, because gathering berries, nuts, tubers, things like that, and also having the time to make fibers, textiles, stuff like that, was really, really important. And yes, the strength, the fighting, the hunting, and the stamina that in theory, biologically, the men, it wasn't always split up this way, but that tends to be a way a lot of tribes are kind of set up with the delineation of labor. The big meat hunts and things, only in certain societies does that actually translate to like a long-term food. So for instance, the Macaw natives, they would hunt a whale. Well, then they would process the whale meat and the blubber. They would ferment it. They would bury it. They would dry it. And this stuff would last like 2 years as meals. So that's something, and most hunts probably did fail, and gathering is constant. Yeah, great point. Wicked freaking aquatics. And it's not glamorous. It's picking up stuff that fell off a tree or whatever, and maybe it's the like mealy apples or whatever, but it's realistically it's like the calories that sustain people on the daily. And it was a treat and great and special when they got something like hunted or something else. Now, early humans, this is one last aside, then we'll go back to all things aquarium, but one thing I found really interesting was, a lot of people picture early humans and hunting and gathering and all this stuff. They imagine that the guys go out with spears or boomerangs or, I don't know, slingshots, whatever, bow and arrow. And they're smelling the droppings, and they're looking at the footprints, and they're scattering grass to see which way the wind goes and all this stuff, right? And stalking their prey. And while a lot of that, has a place, the most common form when in anthropology, I remember they did a survey of this when I was getting my degree, and I thought this was fascinating. They surveyed tribal cultures around the world, and they asked their elders in the 1920s, like, what was the most common way that you guys hunted? And the most common way that was answered was they sent the kids from 10 to 17, 18 years old to go chase down ungulates. So whether that's sheep, goats, deer, elk, moose, wild cow, wild horse, whatever it may be, buffalo, oxen, they would send them out and they would just literally go with 10 kids or 8 kids or 5 kids, whatever, and they would run them down and weak and sweat. And in a hot, perseverance or persistence hunting, correct. Yep. Yeah, you know it, Firestorm. We got some anthropology nerds in here, I see, huh? And so when there's this famous movie about the Bungsan people, and they're the ones with the funny click noises, right? The click language that's really, really hard to learn to speak. The Hotsa and the Kung, and specifically of the Kung is the Hotsa. That's the bigger ethnic group. Then it's the Kung, and then it's the San. So the San are the Kalahari Bushmen, as they get called. And the Kalahari Bushmen, they know all these crazy tricks, and they've been in lots of videos and documentaries. Well, one hilarious behind the scenes is of probably their most famous documentaries from the 60s. And these British and South African anthropologists go down and they meet them, and they want to make a video of the last tribe on earth, right? Kind of how they're talking about it. And they're like, will you, and they talk to this old man and they're like, will you show us how you used to hunt? And he kind of sits there and thinks for a minute. And they have the original tapes now, and my teacher had like these edits that were of the original archive that are now available at the Library of Congress. But he literally walks inside his hut and grabs like a 12 gauge and comes back out, and he's like smiling, and he's got like missing a couple teeth, and he's got like, you look around, there's like a Coke bottle on the ground, and there's like tin cans around and stuff. And to him, he's like, what are you talking about? The Dutch and white people have literally been here off and on for 600 years living here. And we've had contact with y'all for 1,000 years. So since before you had gunpowder. So it's kind of funny what we think of as primitive and unconnected. Same with when the Russians made contact with some of the Aleutian Island natives. They were like, what do you want? And of course they wanted metal. They wanted, guns and knives and things like that, because that's way better than a rock or like ivory for making a blade with. But they ended up, saying, like, do you guys want some tobacco, to the Russians? And they're in the Arctic, and they've traded it for tobacco all the way from the Great Plains / like probably this area, the Great Basin, Washington area. They've traded all the way up there for sacred ceremonies. They have tobacco. And the Russians were like, what? Like, did the Turks get here already? And they're just so confused in their journal about it. So, there's very interesting trade routes early on, that when something was good or people liked something, they definitely made sure they got it. I mean, we find also copper from that whole copper. There's a whole copper culture in the Great Lakes area that had copper before anyone else in the world, before the Egyptians, before anything. 9,000 years ago, that there was such copper concentration there, because it was found in pure form, just out of the ground, like in a green color, and you could literally just take a hard rock and whack, 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 and then finally you just bust off a chunk of actual like copper, 85% pure copper or some madness like that, right? And they could literally hammer that into some blades or jewelry and things like that. Same thing with gold. Like early on, people say, oh, we didn't have metal, but we've had gold, we've had silver. There's a number of things that we've had. They just weren't good for like sturdy blades that can hit against other blades. prolonged periods of time, right? And copper is no difference. Copper doesn't get counted as a metal, and part of that might just be also racist. Like, well, Americans had it first, so can't count that. They were Indians, they were savage, whatever, you know, that kind of attitude at the time. Alex, what are you citing as the earliest empirical human history? That's a good question. When I go back and I try to decide that, it's pretty hard, but I think one of the turning points that you have to think is pretty human is when 43,000 years ago, we see that Australia gets colonized. And by that point, probably more like 60,000 years ago, that happened. Maybe even as far back as 80, some people say as recent as 45,000 years ago, others will say. But by that time period, humans were making fish ladders and damming up rivers with rocks and allowing certain fish of a certain size to get through. There's a famous site called Breruara or Breruare. I don't know how you pronounce it exactly. Breruara. Somebody in Australia help me out. But it's a fishing weir, and it was designed so that they could have like one species on the left, the adults and big ones would go upstream to spawn. If they were over a certain size, that meant they were probably female with eggs, and they were headed up to spawn. That could be, they could still get through unblocked, and they have people like lining that side is the guess, and they could spear any ones that they deemed like, oh, that one's not getting, like that one got through and we don't want it to. And then on the other side, they allowed the little stuff to come and go in the lower level. So it's kind of interesting that they had these pond and captive fish type systems. Now, that's not, to me though, it shows that they had a mastery of tools. They traveled all the way from Africa, obviously, all the way to Southeast Asia. Then they crossed 100%. There's no doubt they had to cross water. That's one of the things. And so I think that is, you know, that's not history as in it's written down, but you can say like, okay, well, in that spot along that river, there was a landslide or a mudslide, probably happened during an earthquake, that covered up that whole fish weir and ladder. And that's the only reason we know about it. But they made more of them on the same river farther up when the river rerouted eventually, and the river still runs there, right? Well, they still have an oral tradition of when they came. And if you count back literally the amount of generations, you know, give or take, you could be off by 10,000 years if you say that a generation is older than 20 or 30 years. If you say a generation is 40 years, then, you know, it's going to be off. If you say it's only 15 years, it's going to be off another 10. But if you were to say that a generation's 30 years, they count the amount of generations, and it goes back to right around 40,000 years, which is what it's dated at. Same with the tribes in North America. A lot of the volcanic eruptions that occurred, and same in Polynesia, are extremely accurate. They know how many generations ago, or how many, they measure it in a certain way. And that is super interesting. And you know, that is, there's interesting patterns that we can gather too, like the stories of this Coast Salish people that live in Washington state. They say that the ice left, that the world was covered in ice, and when the ice melted, that the salmon who was like a character that's a god, returned, and that he basically populated all the rivers. Well, during the ice age, the glaciers took up any salmonid inland spawning ranges, right? So salmon either got stuck in lakes and then froze and died, and there goes that, or they were out at sea and they couldn't come back in at a glacier. And so it's really interesting too to think that things like the Great Flood of Washington State, the Missoula flood is what it's called. We know for sure there was a massive flood with water 400 feet high in spots, coming at 100 miles an hour. And it was basically a mountain pass that had filled to the size bigger than Lake Superior, full of water. And all of a sudden, an ice clogged valley just broke free, and that water went all the way from Montana all the way across Idaho, Washington, and Oregon, out through the Columbia Basin. It ripped all the topsoil off the ground. I mean, it's an incredible thing. Google the Missoula floods if you're interested in geology and ancient history. So what I was going to say is that, that humans have these oral records of that. And so as Budget Bonsai was saying, though, you don't necessarily, like, history has to be written. That's just like the rule for what history is. Otherwise, it's oral history. And so the oral history can be very, very accurate, or at least have elements of accuracy. Now, who knows when they say like, oh, and a rainbow spirit crossed the sky and this, that, and the other, then people say, oh, it's ancient aliens, or it's proof of God, or it's proof of this, that, or the other. Well, I don't know. There's a lot of interpretation. But there are cases where they're like, that mountain, like half of it just disappeared. And there's a lot of oral tradition that remembers things like that as far back as thousands of years ago, and they even know approximately how many generations ago it happened. It's that important that everybody knows in their worldview that how the world came to be in that area. This is a channel about fishing history. Is this a channel about fishing history? Yes, kind of. Fishery. It is a channel about fish and fish in the news, fish and humans, fish and history. Mostly it's about our pet-friendly fish, our aquarium fish. And we were looking at my aquarium earlier, but I got off on a tangent, and somebody asked, how far back does the history go with humans and fish? And it's hard to say, because truly it only goes back as far as ancient writing, and you could argue as far back as maybe like Catalhayak, or somewhere like Catalhayak, where in Turkey you've got 10 to 12,000, maybe even 14,000 years of stone carvings of things like sheep, fish. Like, we can tell now, you can look at the carvings and be like, dang, that is definitely a deer with antlers. And I mean, they're really good carvings. So you could argue, like, how's that not as good as writing to let us know that they were like sophisticated humans? But technically history doesn't start until cuneiform tablets in 5,000 years ago. You could say there's some Ayurvedic early texts in the Indus Valley that maybe are something similar, but really it's their little scroll, their little rolls. They're called keys. They have other names too, but they're kind of like round, and they're clay, and they've got a bunch of markings in them. And if you roll them on a piece of clay, they leave an indentation. And so you'd have like these setups. So somebody who's, say, a rich king might allot everybody in his kingdom 2 chickens, a cow, and 100 pounds of rice. I don't know, I'm making it up, right? But it would say that on this stamp, and you would roll the stamp in the clay, and then you would keep it. And then you would give that piece of clay after it sat in the sun to the person, and that would be their receipt. And so that's our oldest form of writing, like truly, is receipts and tallies for goods. And then it literally, there comes to be more and more elaborate images of the goods. And a lot of times you'll see little stick figures of animals and things. And then you start to get cuneiform, which is basically you used a specific stick that has a wedge shape. And depending on how you use it, you can go upright, you can flip it upside down, you can go sideways, you can go diagonal, you can use the corner, and you can use a dot. So there's basically like a limited number of strokes, and people use that, and they get more and more symbolic over time. So where they used to draw a whole stick figure, it's too hard to do, and they're like, all right, everybody knows that I'm going to be drawing a stick figure. Do I really need to draw the feet and the hands and the head on the stick figure, or can I just do the body and the arms and the legs? And then pretty soon you end up with a symbol that's, you know, just the body and two arms, and that's the symbol for human or something, right? So that's how early, and then you get phonetic and language and all that later. We don't need to go into all that. This is a fish channel. But we do see statues and carvings and figures, and we're like, well, what does it mean? We can't contextualize it. But we can find things like fishing weights from 30 and 40,000 years ago in China, in Spain, in India. There's a number of places, a lot in China though, where they had this specific kind of barbell shape where they would tie the rope around a rock, and they'd weathered the rock. They make them out of clay, they make them out of wood, but those are hard to find. Nothing lasts more than about 10,000 years made out of wood, hardly ever. Once in a while it does, but hardly ever. Usually we get impressions of stuff. Same with fish cartilage and fish bones, and that's why it's really hard to know for sure with that. But what we can do is we can go back with matrilineal and not matrilineal, mitochondrial, which is through the maternal line, through the mom side of the DNA of fish. And so we can guesstimate how long ago, for instance, bettas were first domesticated, or dogs were first domesticated, or horses. And what we find is that, like with dogs, we know there was lots of tribute art to dogs long before we have the inkling that they were domesticated around 20,000 or 15,000 years ago. But maybe they didn't need to be officially, geez, someone's really trying to get at me. Maybe they didn't need to officially be domesticated. You know, maybe a wolf or a coyote is still handy enough to have around and still safe enough to have around most of the time. But there is a literal definition of domesticated now in a genetic sense, and it's the DMRT1 gene. And we know that some fish, goldfish included, bettas included, zebra danios included, some fish have this DMRT1 variant mutation. Humans have it, and we don't know exactly when it occurred. And right now there's still a lot of debate on whether was that around 80,000 years ago, or was it up to as far back as maybe 400,000 years ago. But at some point, humans all of a sudden have a gene that says we're domesticated, in the sense that less aggressive, more communal. In general, we say with animals that they're more friendly to human, but it also means that we have more pedomorphic traits. Geez, I thought I could just leave my phone, but somebody is going absolutely insane. Oh, it's Nick from In My Tanks. That's the whole topic for another day that I do want to cover. Hold on, guys. Let me plug this phone in and mute it. I do. He messaged me. I thought I just muted it. He messaged me, and he was talking to me about some drama that's going on online about some beta dealers, some possible unscrupulous activity going on in the world of selling fish online. And black water in particular fish, so like bettas, gouramis, things like that, endangered species being sold just openly, and who was ethical and who wasn't, etc., etc. Well, I don't know anything about any of it yet. Haven't heard any comments from any of the accused folks yet, so I'm not going to speak to it yet. But I will say that you know what? I'm not getting any updated comments all night. Oh, there they are. So sorry, guys. If you guys have been commenting and you're like, why won't he answer me? I apologize. I really do. And I don't think I'm seeing, if anybody's done any super chats or anything, I'm not seeing any of it either. I don't know what's happening. But anyways, Kenny, I see that he was here like 6 minutes ago. If you're still here, buddy, how's it going? I hope you're doing well. Always love to have you. And I see that we got a bunch of Canadians, dirty Canadians in here. You aggressive, rude, mean Canadians, always imposing on us. Ice storm coming tomorrow. Oh man, that's no good. I'm sorry. I hope everybody stays safe. That's scary. Ice storms are gnarly. Hey, what's up, Kenny? Good old Kenny. I hope you're doing well. I tried to catch your stream, but you didn't have one like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, maybe when I actually was free on a Sunday. Because usually I'm hanging out with the wife. On Sunday nights, we're watching, some TV drama, that kind of thing. Oh, there's a super chat. So I see that one, and thank you very kindly. From FR Mark Goring. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. It's very nice. He said, I'm from Canada earlier, and he said, by the way, like fishing and a little history. Oh, wow. So, yeah, he was the one who popped in. Hey, that's very nice of you, man. Welcome to the channel. So, yeah, I mean, you could have joined as a member for $1.99. So that probably would have been a better deal. But thank you regardless for the super chat. If you do become a member, though, there's another 200 plus episodes that are kind of formatted for listening to while you're driving or doing a water change or whatever, not watching. Where you don't need to watch the info on the screen. But if you do, a lot of them still have me or pictures of the fish or whatever. But, some of my videos are very like chart intensive and they're like, numbers, statistics, academic paper kind of stuff that we're breaking down. And others are just like, oh, look at the cute fish, So it varies. But welcome to the community either way. I'm glad that we must have caught your attention. I'm guessing, yeah, on the vertical phone. So I'm glad we're streaming that way because, obviously landscape, we've got the folks on their computers and the folks that are here regularly, but we get folks strolling in that are in there watching shorts and stuff. Every once in a while they'll come through, and love people who are like, what in the heck is going on? It'd be a lot better if I was over at my actual aquariums, but mobility has been hard for me right now. I'm currently injured, but there's a tank there and a tank there. And we did just go on a tour at the beginning of the stream. But we'll have to start doing that again soon when I can like walk consistently. We'll do like tours again where like I talk and we look at what's going on in my tanks. More than just me sitting here and yammering away. And obviously, guys, I haven't forgot about the 100,000 penny giveaway or the 1K giveaway, however we wanted to call it, or the 100K penny giveaway. So I've got sponsors on board. There's a couple things that I'm just kind of waiting on, like me. I'm having some personal health issues again, as always, but like I'm just waiting so everything's smooth before I start that whole crazy process. But this also came today, and this is the silver play button, and I have not opened it, and I will not open it until we do the giveaways. So we already know we've got $500 in aquatic arts gift certificates. I think we've got at least 200 or 300 from Moonlight. Imperial, we're still waiting on, but we're going to be giving away. We're going to be giving away stuff here on the channel to y'all for putting up with me for 10 years for 100,000. community members, you know, that kind of thing. But guys, I'm getting a little worn out tonight. I apologize, and I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. You know, I always try to stream an extra stream if I can, but a lot of times it's still just 1 or 2 streams a week instead of the 3 that I wish I was always pulling off. And I have lots of videos that I'm in the midst of editing, but it didn't make sense to do a video of, okay, here's how you, I mean, I did the tissue culture video so you guys could at least get a sneak peek at the tank, right? But that was basically done a couple days into planting it, and now we're a couple weeks into that. But the entire whole you know, the hardscape, the me rinsing stuff, me planning it, me talking about the canister filter, and honestly reviewing it. I think I'm also going to make an overall kind of welcome to this ADA series, and like, Alex, how can you review such expensive products fairly, like when they were given to you? And I think that's like a fair criticism. And I also think that right off the bat, I have to admit that there is no way to justify like $600 for a diffuser in your aquarium. I mean, unless you were growing plants that somehow were super rare, and that diffuser provided an ability that allowed you to grow plants that no other diffuser, you know, in a comparable price range could provide, then I would say, yeah, it's worth it, you know. But no, financially, this is luxury. ADA and aquascaping is about branding, luxury, interior design, art, architecture. And the story is, at the end of the day, you're buying the story, the brand, the legacy of all those people who are professional level aquascapers. They tend to lean into the looks, the brands, the style, the tech that was all pioneered by ADA Amano. You don't see round aquascape tanks, you know, you don't see bowls, you don't see Art Deco aquascape tanks in these competitions. You see rimless ADA or UNS style tanks. And so while I can say what I think of it, how it works, you know, it's all good quality, it's all cool. I think it's cool that you got part of the history in it. It's not worth it. And there's always going to be someone who's like, I would never pay this much for this or that. And I get it. That's fine. That's valid. But that'll have to be kind of like the precursor to what I say, is like, there's a DIY to do most of the things that are designed here. But at the same time, a lot of the firsts, like, you know, having a marketable aqua soil that's functional underwater, and not just for bonsai, like Akadama, Amano, like right there is like, that's incredible. He started all those different brands trying different things, and they've all been copying that same formula ever since, basically. Pretty interesting. All right, let's see here. Can I enter my tank? George, you can share your tank if you want. Your tank's beautiful, man. Not today, because I'm about to wrap things up, but if you want to share your tank another time, I'd be more than happy to have you share. I hope you're doing well too, and I hope your family's doing well, George. It's been a while since we chatted. Jacob, the guppy man or Posilia man, I guess it could be endlers or guppies or pictus. It could be a number of different Posilia. I need help with columnaris, man, I never can say that name. Columnus worms. I've heard they develop a resistance to levamisol. I don't know what to do if that's the case. That's always what I've used, is levamisol. I will move them out away from any sort of shrimp or snails, because I use the amount of levamisol that may kill the shrimp and snails. Heck, it may even kill a couple of the fish if I really go to town trying to get rid of those. But those are those red worms that get into guppies in particular are really, really difficult in the hobby, because they're like, yeah, I believe that they are resistant. It doesn't surprise me at all, because they're passed on and they're treated oftentimes at like a transshipper, at Petco, PetSmart. Maybe it's low dose dewormer, or, you know, fenbendazole, flubendazole, Metroplex, something like that. But over time, the toughest ones are surviving. The toughest ones are surviving, and for years and years and years. And that stuff is no good. But levamisole is what I would, you know, attempt, and maybe just do like, you know, the full dose twice in a row and see if that helps. It does also help if you don't feed the fish for a while and you see the worms are coming out looking for food. Like they'll actually come out of the cloaca and start poking their heads out of the fish's, you know, end. And that allows you to know that then at least they're in the water with the levamisole. If you can get food that has been laced with levamisole for the guppies, or you can get flakes that have like the dewormer in them, that's very helpful too, because that'll, you know, actually get right to them. So yeah. Dagmar, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. I really do. Dr. Pepper, Alex. Yes, I love Dr. Pepper as always, but yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, man, I'm still gonna say it wrong, but columnar, is it? Well, there's I quit. I can't even talk, guys. There's two different disorders. One is a flatworm, and the other one is the little parasitic little like ick type creature, and they're two separate things. But there's columnaris and worms and calamus worms. I can never say it. I don't know why it ruins my brain. But anyways, there is another med for it. It starts with an F. Fenbendazole, flubendazole. Yeah, that might be helpful too if one doesn't help. What do you think of crebensis? I love them, Randy. They're really, really good. Awesome fish. One of my favorites to keep. I love watching when they have babies. They're so colorful. They're really fascinating the way they dance and stuff. I like keeping a pair of adults and then like allowing the babies to grow out in a separate tank kind of after the parents have done their thing and taken care of them for like a month or two. And then the parents kind of start ignoring them and like telling them to bug off. And at that point, then I'll collect them all up and put the babies on their own, and they start kind of a pecking order. But guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I appreciate all y'all and all that you do. Hopefully I'll get the next video in line out about what I did. We got a substrate video on like how to prep the substrate, how to put it in the tank, and what products they offer and what I think of them, and what it is they do and why you would pay for them. Like, because that's something I wanted to know. Like, why would I pay $10 for this additive and then another 10 for this? And do I actually need it? Like, I have soft water. Why would I buy that? And the answer is no, you don't need it all, even according to them. So ADA and AFA, it's for specific things. And so I think that's a system I'd like to go over anyways, because they've been kind enough to help me out with this, but also just to review the product. Same with their light. Their light is pretty freaking cool. I have to say, I like the engineering on it. I think the price, yet again, a little high, but it's also a really nice light. And the thing is, I haven't had all these things a super long time yet. Sorry, guys, I'm standing in an awkward position because my back's killing me. But I'll be straight up with you and let you know how they're lasting. Plus, I used to work in a shop that had all ADA stuff. And I've been around ADA stuff for a long time. Where does one get food laced with levamisole? Online from like Brine Shrimp Direct used to have some of it. Camel anus worms, thank you. Yes, that helps me. Yeah, the what was I gonna say? And then there's so there's camellianus worms, and then there's columnaris, and for some reason my mouth just turns to mumble when I see either one written alone. But yeah, who just came and got welcome to the community? Did I miss somebody? Yes, the wife just walked by, and she's why I need to leave too, so that we can. We probably need to make dinner and all of that jazzy jazz. But guys, I hope everybody's doing good. Big Snake D2B. There's a name right there. Yeah. All right, Dagmar, thank you. Yeah, sorry guys, the stream was a little all over the place, but we got to talk about the history of fishery. Oh, that's kind, but don't worry about it. Nobody feel obligated to super chat anything. I just like that y'all are here. So cribs love plants. Cribs are found in either black water with like tannins and like lots of botanicals, leaves and things, or very planted creeks and rivers that are clear flowing, kind of one or the other, but they can live in both and they dig it. All right, you guys. Yeah, I should have some more videos out soon. It's just a matter of editing. And now that like the cat's out of the bag and the tank has been shown to everybody and it's growing in and stuff, it was another thing of like the guy who sponsored it doesn't want me to show. I'm going to review the light, and here I am showing the tank all set up. So there's been kind of an interesting lag there, and also I've just been torn on like what to cover on the channel content wise. I've been dragging my feet as I've done everything with health and stuff. So I'm getting it back into my groove, as Stella does. She getting her groove back. So hopefully we'll get mended officially and on the road soon. And Sumi Cat and Joffrey the giraffe will be helping me as well soon. All right, you guys, have a wonderful night and much love to you. Thank you for being you, doing what you do. And you should do sneak peek leaks for members. Yes, so actually I have been. I don't know if you noticed that, but like I've been doing shorts of like, I showed the short that I did the Yell Fire. That short was up for 24 hours early for members, and then I took it down. I don't know why it doesn't alert everyone, but I was still getting alerts that people were leaving comments, but that the post was gone. And I was like, how does that happen? And I guess apparently it's because the page doesn't refresh. It showed it to them, and then I had deleted it by then. But I'll have to leave it. Oh, you did notice. Okay, well I'll keep doing more then. I'll do more if you dig it, and if you want more background info, especially if I'm not having to do like more in-depth edits. There's some funny scenes with the cat and stuff that I've been saving just for whenever, but that's definitely something I'd be happy to share with members. So yeah. All right. Oh, and Mick says here is some groove. I don't know what it is exactly. It doesn't let me click or even copy anything, unfortunately, from the app I'm in. But I trust Mick, and I trust people to go follow that if they want. But I don't know who's streaming or who you want to go listen to next right now. But if anybody has suggestions in the chat, feel free to. Other than that, you guys take care of your critters. Take care of yourself first. Because if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of your critters. And I know that's frustrating, but you have to do that. Same with people in your life. So take care of yourself so you can take care of the people and the critters. And then we'll all be taken care of, and it'll all be good. So I will see y'all later, and take care. Bye.